Welcome to Inside Sales Studio, Inside Sales Frontline Q&A, a new series we've been doing. It is my pleasure to bring you to the last installment in our webinar, follow-up on the state of coaching and sales. We're going to talk about personal coaching plans in this one. Again, my name is Jen Gergen. I'm Director of Operations for the AA-ISP. I welcome you as well as our speaker, Joe Caprio. Thank you for being with us again. So, and again, we're rounding it out. We've talked a lot about coaching culture. Watch the other series, folks, if you haven't had a chance. Can you give us an idea that's going to really kind of round this out on the personalized aspect of a coaching plan?
Yeah, Jen, you know, it's funny. We did 4 sessions about getting your frontline manager to coach, and I'm glad we saved this one for the end because it's the most advanced. It's the hardest to ask them to do. And what we're talking about right now is your frontline manager being promoted from an IC to a manager and having never had like a really tight cadence of getting coached. And now you're asking them to go and coach. And so on top of asking them to do something that maybe they've never experienced and don't know how to do, we're going to go on top and say personalized, like a different coaching plan for each one of the reps. So I really recognize that like this is a tall order for people. And I'm just asking everyone, bear with me. Like it's doable. I promise.
Well, okay. So on that, you shared a good slide in the webinar and it's up on the screen. And so if, you know, what resources can you provide that might help empower the managers to do this, to personalize?
Well, the first thing I would do is I would try to educate your manager, right? So if you're a manager listening to this, and hear me right now, and if you're an executive, go tell your managers this, right? There is a reason you have to coach in a personalized way. When you do coaching for the entire team, what happens is the ICs in the room, they look to their left and they look to their right, and they find one person weaker than them at that skill. And so if you teach discovery, they look at the rep that hasn't closed a deal yet. If you teach how to prospect, they look at the rep that has less pipeline than them. Whatever, if you teach how to negotiate, they look at the kid that gives away the biggest discount. And every single person on your floor, when you teach one thing to the whole team, they're going to look for a reason that you're not actually talking to them. It's like sending an email to 5 people and say like, hey, here's what we got to do next. And then expecting one of those 5 people to step up and own it. Selling to a group is challenging. Training a group is challenging, especially when the dynamic is they just want to get back to their job and what they were going to do versus say, oh, he's probably talking to me. I'm really bad at this. So you have to do personalized coaching. And at a minimum, you have to give your ICs the belief that it's personalized. And so you can kind of come up with like a couple repeatable assets that you can use and then let your sellers sign up for one of those assets. That's okay. What's not okay though is just doing group training as the only training and it's one topic for the entire group. It won't fly.
That's huge. That is, everybody, let's just absorb that because that's huge. I think it seems so simple, but I think that is a huge struggle that people, especially those, you know, managing large teams, are really faced with this idea of just making the most out of their time. And so let's just paint everybody with the same brush. And it's just, it cannot.
Have you heard like, well, we already taught them this, you know, we gave them this information a month ago, right? We trained them on the Monday go-to-market meeting. Like we've already trained them on that topic. Come on.
It's not enough. Okay. Well, so there's a great template here. Can you give us a little bit more on that?
Yeah, so I actually worked with Misha McPherson from Humble Grit Sales. She does a course on how to be sales enablement. Like she'll train your sales enablement leader. And so I went to her course because I don't have sales enablement. I'm a Series B company, and so I'm doing a lot of this myself. And she gave me this like incredibly easy exercise to follow. I have a slide, a tab, a Google spreadsheet, and it lists the assets that I've created. And so some of this is like a mock case study that I wrote to help people practice negotiating. Some of it is a learning path that we put into our LMS, like Lessonly, right? Some of it is just like a role play that I do with people. Sometimes it's a playlist, not to pitch my stuff, but sometimes it's a playlist and chorus of like great example call. And so what I've done is I've kind of lined up like the top 10 skills that I want my sales team to be good at. And I've built out one asset for each one of those skills. And then what I do on a monthly basis is I put it out to the group. The AEs on my team, they pick the skill they want to get better at.
Nice.
And the manager incorporates that asset into their one-to-one. And so what this does is a couple of things. It keeps everybody focused on a skill because it rolls over every month. And at the end of the month, everyone writes a one pager. Here's what I focused on. Here's what I learned. Here's what I've changed. Here's what I will continue to do differently. So it puts like a renewed focus on it. And the other thing it does is it increases buy-in from the AEs. I'm not talking at them anymore. They're picking what life skill they want to learn next. They're picking what thing they want to figure out how to do to make more money for the rest of their career. So I'm not teaching at them. I'm working with them to build the curriculum. And it can feel highly tailored to the individual. But the reality is I'm just recycling the same 5 assets over and over again through my team.
Right, right. Wow. And so what we're looking at right now, would be like hyperlinks to other Google Sheets that are detailing the things that you mentioned. And oh, wow, yeah.
Right, yeah, like the top one is a link out to a Google Doc. So I wrote a fake case that, there's a buyer role and a seller role. And if my team wants to get good at negotiation, like there's a buyer and a seller part to this. They pair up and they can practice the negotiation. And then they can kind of learn some, it's like Aesop's negotiation. They're learning life lessons through this.
I love it.
But it's a link out to a Google Doc. You know what I mean? The next one down is our LMS. It links into the LMS. The next one down is like a recorded session that we taught once and we recorded in Chorus. And like it's just links out to different assets that people are supposed to use to get trained.
So question on the assets too, as far as asset creation, is that something that like the team is like the higher leadership team, like who's creating the assets for these coaching?
We should do a whole series, Jen, on training.
Okay.
Yeah, create training content. But here's the funny thing. You guys are too busy to do this, right? You're too busy to build a curriculum. You're too busy to build out an onboarding program. So what you do is every time a rep needs help, you think of how to train them live in the moment. And if you really think about it, you're actually spending more time creating training content than if you just sat down and just said, like, what are my core 5 skills? And just build those 5.
Especially if it's a Google Doc. I mean, that's something that you can keep fleshing out. I mean, get your bones in there at least, and then continue to flesh it out and evolve it as different people give you feedback. Because that's the other thing, as a manager, as a coaching person, you got to be able to feedback from your students, so to speak. So it's going to be ever evolving to a point.
Yeah, you're right. It's about documenting and iterating as you go versus just forever saying we don't have the bandwidth to build this. Like you are building it, just document it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, instead of rebuilding it next time, just improve the one that you've already created.
Yeah, no, I think it's amazing a lack of just quick jotting down and chronicle, just storytelling, all that. Just write it down. Anyway, oh my gosh, this series, it's been amazing. I'm so grateful for your time. Again, folks, this was all in a 4-part series. It was a follow-up to a webinar that Joe and I did with Bob Perkins, the state of coaching and sales. It was excellent, but it was only 30 minutes. So we really needed to dig in, and here we are, and we've done it. And I so appreciate your time, Joe.
Jen, I'm really thrilled with how this came out. I really appreciate you having me in. Anything I can ever do to help the cause. And if people want to hear more or find me, I'm Joe at Chorus.ai. I'm Joe Cap Software on Twitter, and I'm Joe Caprio on LinkedIn. I'm a total nerd for SaaS, especially B2B SaaS, and like employee development is my passion. So if you have questions about how to coach your team or just any of it, like don't be a stranger. I'm here.
Oh, I love hearing that. Thank you so much. We're such a great community. I'm so grateful you're in it. All right, everybody. See you on the next one.